It is no great thing to say that words can hurt, that words have power, that words can even be biting. But what do you do when an entire book tries to take a chunk out of you? Today we're talking about Mazfroth's mighty digressions from Candlekeep Mysteries. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Geek Pantheon. I am Eric, and today we are going to be talking about the level 2 adventure, the second adventure in Candlekeep Mysteries, Mazfroth's Mighty Digressions. And this one is going to be less involved of a breakdown on how to run than the previous one, The Joy of Extra-Dimensional Spaces, because that was very much kind of a dungeon-y crawl feel, making your way room by room through a mansion. This is much more narrative type adventure and has a lot more scope to it, a lot more traveling, and so you have a lot more wiggle room as a dungeon master and a lot more freedom, so then there's less like nitty gritty to talk about how to alter things. But we are going to get into it, the things that do exist there, how I would run it, what things I would make special note of or adjust, and just some general warnings for you as a dungeon master before you put this adventure down on the table. But first, let's do an overview / review of this adventure, give you my thoughts on it, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. So first off, this adventure has some phenomenal NPCs, a lot of great backdrops for the characters to dive into, to learn more about, and some pretty cool subversions of expectations when it comes to certain types of creatures. However, player characters of a more zealous ideology might have issues because there are lycanthropes involved in this adventure. And so there are some ideologies, some beliefs that will prevent player characters from fully getting everything that exists in this, because they're going to be attack first, ask questions later. Also, generally speaking, if you have a party that is combat forward, they're going to miss out on a lot of the great things that this adventure has to offer. So if you are planning on running this on its own thing or to start off a campaign, maybe keep that in mind when you're talking with your players about the type of characters to create. Talk about creating characters that aren't combat forward, that have a lot of different skills, social skills, stuff like that. Make that more of a focus going into this one. Still have some combat capabilities, but you do want to have more going on, and you want to create characters that will be open to experiencing this adventure to its fullest, as opposed to knocking down doors and stabbing lycanthropes. And lastly, this adventure has a ton of varying paths forward. I kind of criticized Joy of Extra-Dimensional Spaces for falling into the one path forward design mentality. This adventure is nothing like that. Parties can take a bunch of different approaches to solve the varying problems and get to the final section of this adventure. And even then, there are a ton of different endings that this adventure can have. So this one does have, it's not a full sandbox. It is still linear of like, here's where you need to go, here are the people you need to talk to. But there's a lot more freedom in how you get there. It's kind of like a series of hourglasses where you have this wide open thing and then it narrows to this point, and then a wide open thing and then it narrows again, to where you have a lot of freedom in between those touch points that each party needs to go through to progress the adventure. Okay, so the finding the book section / the intro to this adventure. So first off, the section that takes place in Candlekeep is pretty straightforward. The party gets attacked by a book, which is a monstrous creature that is a ball of energy. I'm Gingwatsum, maybe, sure, is how you pronounce it. But yeah, that is the creature type. On their own, like when the party initially encounters Mazfroth's Mighty Digressions as a book and it turns into a Gingwatsum and attacks the party, just one on their own isn't a huge threat unless the dice go really against the party. Essentially, they have an energy drain ability that puts a level of exhaustion on the target, but all of those levels of exhaustion are removed after a rest, and so yeah, unless this thing can attack a single person over and over and over, round after round, there's not a whole lot of danger with just one. There are encounters later on where you have multiple, And that can become more dangerous because then if they're targeting one person, you're doubling up every round. But this initial encounter, one on its own, nothing too much to sweat about. Also, having the Avowed give the party a quest, give them a, hey, we need you to go do this thing, and here is payment for doing that thing if you go do the thing. Immensely helpful from a design standpoint, from getting the party bought in. The only criticism I'll make is they offer a helm of comprehend languages, which is cool. Like, I would be super stoked as a player to get that because it can be very useful, but it's not the sexiest piece of loot, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. It's some players will really jump at the opportunity to get this thing, but it's not going to be universally like, oh yes, a helm of comprehend languages. So as a DM, maybe be prepared to sweeten the pot a little bit, have some gold or some more minor magic items stashed away that you can toss in if the party isn't initially invested. And then Yularian and Valor, the two NPCs that kind of you start your investigation by talking to, have a ton of backstory to them, are super well fleshed out. And being perfectly honest, this is one of the reasons I love as a DM picking up adventure books, is because there's a good chance I never run Mazfroth's Mighty Digressions, but Yularian and Valor, I could rip those NPCs from the adventure and put them in my game and have a fully fleshed out, really well developed NPC because this adventure takes the time to flesh them out. So super love these two, and it's set up in the adventure to kind of say that these two could play into a larger campaign, be reoccurring rivals or allies or whatever you want them to be, because they are so well fleshed out. So home run with those two. Okay, and now the journey to Baldur's Gate section, where the party leaves Candlekeep and heads to Baldur's Gate. The were-rat encounter. Be sure, if you can, to let Mushika, once again, pronunciation, escape the encounter. The head were-rat, escape the encounter with the party so that they can return later on. However, if they don't escape, if the party focuses fire or something happens where they can't get away, I would still keep the encounter that is listed later on in this adventure, but maybe make it a family member or an ally who saw the encounter from a distance. Like they were keeping an eye out and looking for additional allies or something that might come to aid the party, and they witnessed them kill Mushika, and so now they are on a blood quest against the party. So you can continue that through line from that initial encounter without Mushika living. I would really push for them to escape, though, and then they can continue to be a reoccurring enemy for the party down the road if this the scope of this adventure extends beyond this one short adventure. Okay, and then once they get into the wide, I love that they give a brief overview of the Watch's presence in this section of the city. It gives a clear, like, here's how many guards are patrolling around this section of the city. Here's what they're keeping an eye out for. And it gives you that very clear thing at the front of your mind of if the party starts not conducting themselves in a way that the Watch would appreciate, they can then step in and come after the party and try to at least get them to quiet down. Additionally, it gives a list of a variety of stalls that the party can find in this section of the city. But one thing I would add, one thing that I feel like was missing from this list, is on a failed check to try and locate the book stall that they're looking for. If they didn't do a good job investigating prior to leaving Candlekeep and they need to make these checks to try and track it down, add some other book vendors to the list. They're looking for a book vendor, but if there's only one book vendor on the list, then they're going to find it pretty easily. So I would come up with 2, 3, even 4 other booksellers that if they fail a check, set the DC to whatever you need it to be, and if they roll under that, it's like, oh, you find a bookseller right here, and then they can go investigate, interrogate, whatever they're going to do to this, like, just somebody trying to sell some books, and then they realize they messed up and move on. So that's one element that I feel like was missing from this section of trying to track down the book stall, is some false positives essentially on those failed checks. And before we move on, if you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please be sure to like it down below and subscribe to the channel. It does help out a whole lot. And when we hit 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to buy one of you a D&D 5th edition book of your choosing. Also, I do stream on Twitch over at twitch.tv/thegeekpantheon. You want to come by, hang out, talk about this stuff in real time. It's a lot of fun and I would love to have you there. Now, Amberdune books, the stall they're looking for. First and foremost, Corvala, their leader, is such a well done NPC. She is written very intelligently and very believably. And one initial thing that I love about her is if she's on duty at the stall when the party comes, she's not afraid to call the guards over. If the party becomes aggressive or intimidating and start making veiled threats and making intimidation rolls, she'll just flag the city watch over and be like, I'm sorry, but these people are harassing me and my employees and scaring away customers. And then let the watch deal with them. She doesn't need to. That's not her job. I love that. That's such a good, well fleshed out aspect of an NPC merchant that, like, yeah, why wouldn't they just flag a watchman and have them come over and deal with it? So yeah, I love that little touch, and that's sprinkled throughout her character throughout the book. She is a very intelligent, very passionate, and very driven NPC, and it comes through in the way that she's written. And then once the party has like figured out the jackalware situation that they need to get to their home, there's once again a variety of ways forward. This is another, like, the hourglass expands back out, where, I mean, there are situations laid out where the jackalwares take them straight to Corvala. There's options for them to find evidence to lead them to Blackgate. And then lastly, my favorite is not lastly, but the last option I'm going to discuss. If the party tries to tail the jackalwares and like follow them after they close down the stall for the night, and they fail their stealth check, the jackalwares don't turn around and fight. They don't even they don't even run. They just, pick up the pace a little bit and then try to get inside and warn Corval, hey, we were tailed here with something. We need to get out or do something. So I love that. That's, once again, very intelligently written NPCs are like, no, I know that you're following me. I'm not going to do anything to let you know that I know you're following me. I'm just going to walk a little bit faster. And, as soon as I get inside, I'm then going to, warn my leader. So yeah, that's great and very, very smart. And additionally, the lycanthropes, the jackalwares, are reluctant to fight. It talks about how they fight as a last resort. They try to escape, they try to run, they try to get away. And so if the party just comes in guns blazing, for lack of a better term, the lycanthropes aren't going to stand there and fight. They're going to try to get away. They're going to run and be like, what, why, what are you doing? And they're going to take off. So I love that. I think that's a very intelligently written group of NPCs. And I think the way the jackalwares are written is very believable, of lycanthropes that are trying to make it, trying to, just eke out an existence. And the core motivation of these NPCs is very sympathetic and empathetic, that they had this leader, adventurers, because they assumed that their leader was a threat. They killed the Lamia that they followed. And now they're trying to save up money to cast a resurrection spell to get them back. And that's great. It breaks my heart that so many parties that go through this adventure are never going to learn that fact, because they're just going to see jackalwares and they're going to start killing them. And that's a bummer. So I love the backstory for this group, and I love the subversion of expectations, and also the reality of the situation. Though these jackalwares aren't good, they're not even neutral. They're evil. They're just not chaotic evil. They're neutral evil. They're self-serving, but they're not going to go murder people. The Lamia was obsessed with collecting books and knowledge, and they might steal from people, but they're not going to go killing people. They're not a violent threat to the people around them. And so, yeah, they're devious, but they're not murderous, which I appreciate the genuineness with which they're written, and how there is a very sympathetic motivation behind their deviousness, but that doesn't excuse the fact that they are still being deviant. Now, getting into Blackgate and where the jackalware's hideout is. So I'm not going to get into a room by room breakdown because it's not really warranted with this one. It's a really well developed, like, kind of home base for them. There's some fun twists like the rug of smothering and things like that. But there is a reality to where this adventure has a combat encounter, the were-rat combat encounter while they were on their way to Baldur's Gate. Once the party gets into Baldur's Gate, there's every possibility if they go to Amberdune Books and are open with their intentions of like, hey, people have bought books from here that have turned out to be Ging Watsoms and are attacking people in Candlekeep, and we've been sent here to investigate. The jackalwares take the party to their hideout in Blackgate, which is a possibility depending on the checks, and take them straight to Korvala in her office, which is what they do if they bring the party to the hideout. And then Korvala explains why they're doing it. But then also the adventure says, but she never intended for the books to end up in Candlekeep. She never intended anybody to get hurt by this deception. So as reparation, she's willing to give over the 3 books that she sold under false pretense and make things right. And then the adventure ends. And you've had 1 combat encounter. That's a possibility. And in fact, I would kind of call that a win state of this adventure, that the party did everything kind of right. So on their way to Blackgate, it does talk about how Mushika, if they survive the previous encounter and are now coming after the party, if they are escorted by jackalwares, they don't engage, they don't fight. I would change that. I would put another combat encounter here if the party is going with the jackalwares and you're getting the vibe that they are going to cooperate. I would add in another combat encounter here just so you have a bit more. You're probably going to have some players that invested a lot of combat into their characters thinking there was going to be more. So that's one word of warning I would give, is make sure to add in at least 1 more combat encounter around here. And obviously the Ging Watson at the beginning was also a combat encounter. Technically, I don't foresee that lasting too terribly long. So yeah, adding technically 3rd combat encounter here, I think would be a good idea. Once they get into the jackalware hideout though, I think it's all written really smartly. Even if they sneak in and they immediately, like, once they hit the rug of smothering and they're like, sorry, we're coming to talk, the jackalwares are super quick to be chill and cool about this and be like, okay, shouldn't have snuck in, shouldn't have unlocked our front door. We're not going to try to kill you for it, but, you know, not cool. Here's Korvala, you can talk to her. And yeah, I think that it's really well written and it's really well done. I would encourage you, if the party even comes in guns blazing with fighting on their mind, indicate through body language, through the actions of the jackalwares, that they're not looking for a fight. They're not just going to stand in the room and swing their weapon over and over until they die, and then the party can move on to the next room. Have them calling for help, have them running away, have them trying to escape the combat encounter. Have it be chaos. I mean, this is a family whose home is being broken into, and the people that are breaking into it are violent and trying to attack them. It should be chaos. It should be people running around trying to stop them or get out. Identify from the list of jackalwares which ones would be the ones to try and buy enough time for the others to escape. Would Korvala be the type of leader that would stand her ground and make sure her people are out and then try to escape? Or does she acknowledge that her leadership is too valuably put at risk and she's one of the first ones out while some other ones stay and fight to let her escape? That's how, at least the way the NPCs are written, that's how the Blackgate fight should happen. It should not be a let's go from room to room, have a combat encounter, kill him, have a combat encounter, kill him, short rest, have a combat encounter, kill him, until finally we reach Korvala, kill her, and then we can call it a day. If the party wants to come in and attack, have them fight a couple of the jackalwares while the others try to escape, and if the party tries to stop them, then that can become a whole thing. But the building's not that big. Voices carry far, and it's clear that these jackalwares are not interested in a fight. So extend the believability that's kind of baked into the way these NPCs are written by having them react react realistically to a home invasion gone violent, because that's what this is. So yeah, what do you all think? I enjoy this adventure. I think, once again, the highlight for me are the NPCs. The NPCs are incredibly well written. Everybody's written very intelligently. Even the were-rat Mushika is quick to escape a combat encounter that is not going their way, which is smart. That's a smart enemy. So I do like that. Did you all enjoy this adventure? Do you all still enjoy this format? Let me know down in the comments below. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are on the path to 2,000 subscriptions, and when we hit that point, I'm going to buy one of you a D&D 5th edition book of your choosing. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.